November 1st, 2002. A quiet morning in São Paulo, Brazil, is shattered by a frantic 911 call. A young woman, barely able to speak through tears, reports a nightmare. Her parents have been murdered. When police arrive at the luxury mansion in one of the city's wealthiest neighborhoods, they expect a tragic but straightforward case. They have no idea they're about to uncover one of Brazil's most shocking crimes. The Richthofen mansion. 3 stories of privilege in the affluent Perdizes district. Inside, investigators find Manfred and Maricia Richthofen, a successful engineer and his wife, dead in their bedroom. The violence is shocking. This wasn't quick. This was personal. But there's a survivor. Downstairs, in her bedroom, they find 19-year-old Suzanne von Richthofen. She's tied to her bed, trembling, mascara running down her face. Her story is simple. Robbers broke in during the night. She heard screaming from her parents' room, but couldn't help. She was bound and helpless. The young woman who had everything has lost it all in one brutal night, or so it seems. Detective Marco Silva has seen hundreds of crime scenes, and something immediately bothers him about this one. The ropes binding Suzanne are loose, very loose. She could have freed herself easily. Then there are the windows. Shattered glass, but it's on the outside of the house, not inside, as if someone broke them from within. No forced entry at the doors. Nothing of significant value taken, despite the home's obvious wealth. Silva keeps his observations quiet. Maybe there's an explanation, but his gut tells him this isn't what it appears to be. What he doesn't know yet is that this seemingly simple home invasion is actually something far more sinister. A carefully orchestrated plot, and the real killer is closer than anyone suspects. At her parents' funeral, Suzanne appears devastated. Family and friends offer their condolences to the orphaned teenager who survived a nightmare. But Detective Silva attends the funeral too. Watching, observing. He notices something odd. Suzanne's grief seems performed. The tears come and go too easily, and she keeps checking her phone. Then, 3 days after burying her parents, neighbors report something disturbing. They saw Suzanne laughing with a young man outside the mansion. Not just smiling, genuinely laughing, as if nothing had happened. When Silva asks about this, Suzanne becomes defensive. Everyone grieves differently, she snaps. But Silva isn't buying it. Who is this young man? And why is he spending so much time with a girl who just lost her parents? His name is Daniel Crevinos, 20 years old, working class background. He's been dating Suzanne for over a year. But here's where it gets interesting. Manfred and Maricia Richthofen hated him. To them, Daniel represented everything they didn't want for their daughter. No education, no prospects, no money. They'd forbidden Suzanne from seeing him, monitored her phone, tried everything to end the relationship. It didn't work. The couple continued meeting in secret. When detectives bring Daniel in for questioning, he's nervous but cooperative. He admits he was dating Suzanne, but swears he had nothing to do with the murders. "I was home that night," he insists. "My family will tell you." But when Silva checks the phone records, he finds something that changes everything. In the weeks before the murders, Suzanne and Daniel exchanged dozens of calls and messages, late-night conversations, secret meetings. But one message stands out. October 31st, 2002, Halloween night. At exactly midnight, the time Suzanne claims the robbery began, she sent Daniel a text message. 3 words: "It's time." When confronted with this, Daniel's composure cracks. He asks for a lawyer. He stops talking. But Silva knows he's close. He can feel it. He brings Daniel back the next day, and this time he plays his trump card. "Suzanne is going to blame you for everything. Your only chance is to tell me the truth first." And that's when everything unravels. Daniel breaks. Between sobs, he tells Detective Silva everything, and what he reveals is worse than anyone imagined. There was no robbery, no random intruders, no bad luck. It was murder, premeditated, calculated, and Suzanne didn't just know about it, she planned it. Daniel admits he was there that night, but he wasn't alone. His older brother Christian helped him. Together, they entered the house through a door Suzanne had unlocked. They went upstairs, and while Suzanne waited in her room, they beat her parents to death with a metal bar. Afterwards, they staged the robbery, ransacked rooms, broke windows, tied Suzanne up loosely so she could play the victim. Silva asks the question burning in his mind. Why? Why would she do this? Daniel's answer is chilling. She wanted them gone. She wanted the money. She wanted to be free. Now that we know the truth, let me take you back to the night that changed everything. October 31st, 2002, Halloween. While most of São Paulo celebrated, inside the Richthofen mansion, a daughter was about to become a murderer. That evening, Suzanne acted perfectly normal. She had dinner with Manfred and Maricia. They talked about her university classes. Her parents had no idea these would be their last hours. Around 11 p.m., Suzanne kissed them goodnight and went to her bedroom. Manfred and Maricia went to sleep, believing their daughter was safe down the hall. But Suzanne didn't sleep. She waited. At midnight, she crept downstairs in the darkness. She unlocked the front door, carefully, quietly. Then she returned to her room and sent the message. "It's time." Outside, Daniel and Christian Cravinhos had been waiting in the shadows. Armed with a heavy metal bar, they entered through the unlocked door. They moved silently through the house, up the stairs, down the hallway, to the master bedroom where Manfred and Maricia slept. What happened next was brutal. Manfred woke up at the first blow. He tried to fight, tried to protect his wife, but he didn't stand a chance against 2 attackers. The beating went on for minutes. When it was finally over, both of Suzanne's parents lay dead. And where was Suzanne during all of this? In her bedroom, just down the hall, listening, waiting for the sounds to stop. After the murders, the 3 of them worked quickly. They ransacked the house, took some valuables, smashed windows from the inside to simulate a break-in. Then Suzanne laid down on her bedroom floor and let them tie her loosely with rope. She practiced her story, rehearsed her tears, and waited for morning when she would call 911 and play the role of the traumatized survivor. It was cold. It was calculated. It was almost perfect. Almost. On November 9th, 2002, Just 9 days after the murders, Suzanne von Richthofen was arrested. The evidence was overwhelming. Daniel's confession, Christian's matching testimony, the phone records, the suspicious behavior, the staged crime scene. When police confronted her, Suzanne finally dropped the act. No more tears, no more victim routine. She confessed. But she showed no remorse, no regret, just cold, calculated defiance. When asked why she did it, her answer sent shockwaves through Brazil. "I wanted to be free. I wanted to live my own life." That was it. That was her justification for murdering the two people who gave her everything. The trial became a media sensation. Brazil had never seen anything like it. A wealthy, educated young woman, a prestigious family, and a murder so cold-blooded it seemed impossible to believe. But the evidence was irrefutable. In 2006, after a highly publicized trial, Suzanne von Richthofen was found guilty of double homicide. She was sentenced to 39 years and 6 months in prison. Daniel and Christian Cravinhos received similar sentences, 39 and 38 years respectively. Throughout the trial, Suzanne maintained an eerie calm. She rarely cried. She showed little emotion. And when the verdict was read, she simply nodded. The judge, in his final statement, said something that haunts people to this day. This was not a crime of passion. This was not a momentary lapse in judgment. This was evil, pure and calculated, carried out by someone who should have loved her parents most. Suzanne von Richthofen spent 20 years behind bars, 2 decades of her life confined to a woman's prison in Tremembé, São Paulo. During that time, she completed educational programs, earned degrees, and, according to her lawyers, showed rehabilitation. In January 2023, after serving more than half her sentence, she was released on parole. The decision sparked outrage across Brazil. Many felt she hadn't paid enough for her crime, that 20 years wasn't enough for the brutal murder of 2 innocent people. But the law is the law, and Suzanne walked free. Upon her release, she changed her name, abandoning von Richthofen for her grandmother's surname and her new partner's name. She became Suzanne Louise Magnani Muniz. She moved to Bragança Paulista, a quiet town in the interior of São Paulo state, far from the media circus that had followed her for 2 decades. She married a doctor. In 2024, she gave birth to a son. And perhaps most controversially, she re-enrolled in university to complete her law degree, the same degree she was studying when she murdered her parents. Suzanne von Richthofen is now a free woman, a wife, a mother, potentially, someday, a lawyer. Daniel and Christian Cravinhos remain in prison, though both have expressed remorse, something Suzanne rarely showed during her trial. The question that haunts Brazil: has she truly changed? Or did the system simply let her walk free because she knew how to play by the rules? The mansion where Manfred and Marizia were murdered still stands in São Paulo. It's been sold, renovated, lived in by new families. But for those who remember, it will always be the house where a daughter chose greed over love. The Richthofen case changed Brazil forever. It exposed the dark side of privilege. It raised uncomfortable questions about justice, rehabilitation, and whether someone who commits such calculated evil can ever truly be reformed. Suzanne von Richthofen is free. She has a new name, a new life, a child who will grow up never knowing the grandparents their mother killed. But the memory of what she did will never fade. The brutality, the betrayal, the cold calculation. And somewhere in Brazil, Andreas von Richthofen, the younger brother who lost both parents that night, continues his life, forever marked by his sister's actions. This was the story of the Richthofen murders, one of Brazil's darkest and most controversial cases. If this story moved you, subscribe to Brazilian Mysteries. Every week, we uncover untold crimes, unsolved cases, and dark legends from Brazil that the world has never heard. Until next time, remember, justice isn't always about punishment. Sometimes it's about protecting society from those who've proven they're capable of the unthinkable. Stay curious and stay vigilant.